Ohio State versus Purdue at 3:30 today at Ohio Stadium. Cleveland.com. These are game time decisions. I'm Nathan Baird. He's Stephen Means. These are the elements of the game that we think that these teams are going to have to emphasize in order to come out on top. Stephen, what is your game time decision?
So it's going to be about the passing game, but it's a little bit of both. It's one, is David Bell going to have 10 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and is it actually going to matter? Because he just seems like he's good enough to just do that regardless of what you do, what type of scheme you come up with. But can that be his stat line and Ohio State still wins, 41-17 because he's the only offense that can generate. So that's what's most important. Can Ohio State go up against a star player who becomes a star player and it doesn't matter? While on the Ohio State side, it's more how many times does C.J. Stroud have to leave the pocket to make a throw? If that makes sense. He's only been sacked 7 times, which I know we want to applaud the offensive line for, but some of that is CJ's really good at escaping pressure and keeping his eyes open downfield and making a throw. Sometimes it's a bad decision, but the point is he's very good at evading pressure. How often does he have to do that in order to make a throw downfield, or can he just sit back comfortably in the pocket and make the throws we have seen him make sometimes in the past? So kind of a two-way thing in the passing game. Can David Bell go off and it doesn't matter, but also can the offensive line make sure C.J. Stroud doesn't have to leave the pocket that much?
Mine is also a little bit on the offensive line. Purdue is a very one-dimensional offense. They don't run the ball well. They don't run the ball often. They attempt more passes than any team in the Big Ten, and I think it's going to be interesting to see if they can do what they've done the last couple of weeks, which is, as Ohio State talks about, use the passing game as sort of an extension of the run game, the long handoffs, as you say, because they have controlled the clock pretty well the last couple of weeks with their passing game. But mine is going to be, again, like I said, Ohio State's offensive line, at least related to that. Purdue ranks, I think, 12th in the Big Ten in yards allowed per carry. Purdue's defense, which is actually a pretty highly ranked defense, but they allow over 4 yards a carry, which is not a great standard by Big Ten standards at all. The last 2 teams Ohio State played, Penn State and Nebraska, they ranked, I think, 6th and 7th, or they do rank now, even after playing Ohio State. So I think there is an opportunity here that Ohio State needs to take advantage of, which is to come out and establish the run and use that to be the foundation of the offense this week. I'm not saying they're not going to throw the ball still plenty, but I think there's going to be an opportunity here against Purdue. And I think the other thing is when you've got a player like George Karlaftis, the Purdue defensive end on the other side, one of the ways you can kind of neutralize him is to make him a tackler instead of a pass rusher. So take the running game at him, take the running game to the other side of the line if you think he's so good, but just use the skills that you have with Trayvon Henderson, with this offensive line, kind of come out and establish that and let that be a foothold. Ryan Day explained pretty well, I think, this week, and so did Kevin Wilson, about why some of the plays they call end up being passes instead of runs. It has to do with what the defense gives you. So some of this will be predicated on what Purdue decides to do attacking Ohio State. Ohio State's not going to make the wrong decision just for the sake of running the ball. But I just think that there's going to be an opportunity here. And I think when you get through this defensive line at Purdue and can get Trayvon Henderson into that second level, I think he can make that a third level play a lot more than he was able to do the last 2 weeks. I think the personnel, Penn State had great linebackers, Nebraska had great linebackers. I don't know if Purdue has proven that it has great linebackers. I think there's an opportunity for this offense to get some bigger gash plays than they did the last 2 weeks out of the run game. Get the text, 614-350-3315. We'll be texting pregame, what we see on the field, how Gary Wilson's looking, how the Ohio State defensive line is looking, those little wrinkles, and we'll be bringing you analysis throughout the game from Buckeye Talk.